Just to give you an update on what's going on in Gaza, the Israelis supposedly responding to rocket attacks coming from the Gaza Strip assassinated the military chief of Hamas. And like I said earlier in the program, hours before, this is from Haaretz, Nir Hassan has reported, hours before Hamas strongman Ahmed Jabari was assassinated, he received the draft of a permanent truce agreement with Israel, which included mechanisms for maintaining the ceasefire in the case of a flare-up between Israel and the factions in the Gaza Strip. This is according to Israeli peace activist Gershon Baskin, who helped mediate between Israel and Hamas the deal to release Gilad Shalit, who was that soldier. Hamas obviously is dealing with, while it is nominally the leadership of Gaza, there's a lot of militant factions that make up Gaza, which is not terribly surprising, seeing as how if you sequester a bunch of people basically in a ghetto and allow only the sparsest of economic activity to take place there and cut them off from the world, people tend to have a problem with that. We should say that rocket attacks coming from Hamas have killed 3 Israeli civilians, one of whom was a child. Israel said that 15 Palestinians had been killed, 9 of them militants, which would lead me to believe that 6 of them at least were innocent civilians, and children amongst them as well. Most observers, from what I've seen, basically see this as just internal domestic politics. Bibi Netanyahu is worried about the social unrest that is taking place in that country. We've talked about it in the past. Protests, people setting themselves on fire. And so the best thing to do to get people not worried about their domestic economic situation is apparently to create boogeymen and make an issue of national security. And I imagine it'll work there just like it seemed to work here for 8 years. Maybe 6. I'm speaking of the 2000s. So hopefully this will not escalate. Supposedly the Israeli Defense Forces have put the reserves on notice, but I imagine there's some posturing involved in that. Apparently the Israeli Defense Forces were rockets are now hitting Tel Aviv. Is that right? All right. It's being reported that now rockets are hitting Tel Aviv from Gaza, which is bad news, because that's going to make it very bad news. That's going to make it much more likely that this is going to escalate. And
Reuters says that chief military spokesman says that a rocket did not strike Tel Aviv.
Oh, they retracted that?
What was
So they retracted that? It didn't get into Tel Aviv?
that's what it says here.
Rockets have gone in Israel. I saw a report that
all
they
right.
hit Tel Aviv, but 3 Israelis have been killed since they started.
yes, that's
Yeah.
what I just said. Michael, that late-breaking news. Now, there's disputes as to whether or not rockets have hit Tel Aviv. Let's put it that way. So hopefully this will be contained in some fashion.
It's a bit weird seeing the IDF and Hamas both going at it on Twitter while this is happening. And
Apparently the IDF was suspended from Twitter.
yes, they were, because they basically were tweeting
Threatening people.
threats. Yes. Did you see that link I sent you where they set up a social media game where you can join their virtual army and you go up the ranks for spreading their news, for spreading their information and their tweets and their Facebook statuses?
God. Seriously?
Yes.
I mean, the gamification is actually sort of a good idea if you have a podcast.
Or any other business that isn't war.
Yeah. It's like Foursquare for bloodthirsty people.